What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, number one resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today, I'm joined by Markus. He is co-founder of XYO. Markus, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here. How you doing?
Thank you, Brandon. It's great to be here.
Likewise. Pleasure to have you on and excited to have this conversation with you today and learn more about XYO. Would love to know a bit about yourself as well, if you don't mind telling us about your background, maybe how you got into the Web3 space, what kind of excited you about this industry, and eventually how that kind of led to co-founding XYO too.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm originally from Germany, as my accent might tell, and then left and then moved around the world in different countries. I was always into exploring the world and finding out how different cultures work and how the world can be connected. And then I stumbled on Bitcoin pretty early, like 2010, 2011 maybe, and I was fascinated by the borderlessness. And we are all hippies, in the Bitcoin ethos, and are not believing in borders, no peer-to-peer interactions, and nobody is taking our stuff or is renting. And so that led me to found a Bitcoin mining company in 2013, and then then I was hooked, obviously, and that then led to the founding of XYO in 2018. And in between, I co-founder was the CEO of an ad tech company and a media company and a data company, and so it's not my first rodeo to start something, and so we then. With XYO, we took and combined, what I learned in entrepreneurship in like regular Web2 with Web3 to build a really thriving project, which is around for almost 8 years now.
Exciting. So with the Bitcoin mining, was it just Bitcoin mining or did you branch off into any other sectors? That's how I kind of got my start in the space too.
Oh, great. No, it was just Bitcoin mining in 2013, but it was relatively easy. You could do it on a regular computer. You didn't need a special.
Yeah, it's much more simple.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy how complex the space has become today versus how simple it was 10, 12 years ago. But yeah, I used to have these giant mines as well. I had a couple warehouses and we were running like Ethereum miners in particular. It was a little bit more complicated because I was running things off of GPUs and we had all these custom rigs going and it was a very expensive process. I wish it was in the days where I could just do it on my computer because that was the fun, the simplicity of it.
Yeah. Which year was that for you?
2017, 2018.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That was a hot summer.
Yeah. Right before, it got like the hash rate like went up tremendously after that point. And then like I couldn't do it on GPUs anymore. Like there was a point in time you could, and then it just got really inefficient and there was no reason to continue it because there was no price balance. But now it's all staking. That's the trend these days.
And it's better, I think. It's like if you think like from 2017 to now, how much energy was used for proof of work. It's like the environmental impact is just enormous. And it has it's used, I think, proof of work, but it's has gotten a little bit out of whack, I think. And proof of stake. I'm glad Ethereum made that move, and now it's just so much more efficient. On energy and other things. Like you don't need specialized equipment anymore, to run a node, which makes it much more democratic and decentralized.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a great initial use of concept. It was very technological and electricity heavy, I would say, for sure. But no, staking definitely is the better way forward. Just far more efficient and I think more inclusive to allow more people to participate in it too. Because it's hard to participate when you have to spend thousands of dollars and then something breaks. And
yeah, exactly.
And then, so tell me a bit more about maybe the mission for XYO and what you guys are trying to achieve as a blockchain that's designed for data. Like, what does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, we started with this borderless hippie ethos where we said, okay, we want to be inclusive and allow anyone to monetize their data. Like right now, it's if you look at Google and Facebook and friends, right? They take your data and sell it, and they give you a little bit in return in their products, but they get a lot, with your data, and then there's others, who don't even allow you to monetize your data in any way. And so we thought that's not fair, and created something where you are able to share your data and to get paid for your attention, time, and data. And so we created the XYO network, which was the first DePIN, also a decentralized physical infrastructure network. They're hot now, since the name was coined in 22, but we started it in 2018. And then we started with something called proof of location, where location gets easily spoofed or hacked. You can download a GPS spoofing app and pretend that you are in London right now, but you're actually in New York, let's say. And that's a problem for most apps on your phone, but also for self-driving cars and smart cities and the economies of the future. And so we created technology where IoT devices do cryptographic handshakes and verify each other's proximity to each other. And then as you have more and more devices, you have a relational map and things like that. And you can layer a lot of stuff on top of that. And from there, we added more and more types of data on it, like sensory data and offline data and so on. And now you can also use your mobile phone, not only IoT devices, to collect data and become part of the data collection.
Interesting. What would you say is the biggest problem with data today? I mean, I know that there's issues with data ownership and data security, verifying data, trusted data. Is there any in particular that you think is the most important problem that we're dealing with now with data, or are these all kind of like a culmination together?
I think they all come together, as data has more value, data gets stolen or spoofed or lied about, and there's nefarious actors doing something with your data. And so it needs to be protected. And so it all comes together. I think privacy, now with an AI, it's so easy to grab someone's data set, right, and analyze it, ask AI. The AI finds everything in your data. And so, data privacy is now so much more important in data security than it was even 5 years ago. And so I think that is part of that. And then also, obviously, that you are fairly compensated for your data. And especially as data has more value, you should participate in that.
So what are the solutions that you guys have kind of cooked up with XYO? Because I've read into some of the things on your website, such as like smartphone nodes, proof of location, proof of origin, sovereign domain names, like the list kind of goes on. You guys got a lot of stuff here that you're working on. Can you touch on some of these, or maybe what are maybe the most important that we should know?
Yeah, we started with the proof of location, and then we created something called proof of origin, where we are able to say data point was generated on a sensor, let's say a temperature sensor, then saved in an IPFS database, and then put into a smart contract. And we tangle it along the way, so we can prove the handoff and can say where it originated and where the data point ended up. And it gives you basically an audit trail. And this way you are able to prove where data comes from. And that's important, for AI and a lot of other use cases. But also we created a new blockchain called XYO Layer One, which launched last month, which is the first data-focused Layer One, which is hyper scalable. So it doesn't have the regular blockchain bloat. It has a finite size, so you can run it on a regular machine. And it's a proof of stake, of course, but also it has proof of perfect and other algorithms in there, which make it much more efficient for data. And it's not only about data storage, but also about data analytics and data certainty. And so we bring things together. For example, we have a partnership announced with someone who's in the charging space in South Korea. It's called Piggy Cell. They have 98% of the market there. And they are we are doing proof of location for their charging stations, basically, and then the plan to put their data on chain on the XYO Layer One, and then it's going to get tokenized and sold. And so it brings together our DePIN network, which has more than 10 million nodes, and then our Layer One blockchain.
Awesome. And these solutions, they can apply not just to consumers, but also to enterprise too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our consumers are mostly people who share data are mostly consumers. We have some enterprises also which share data through the DePIN network, but it's mostly consumers, because today about 80% of the people who are in our network are non-crypto users when they start out. And that is because they're just able to download the Coin app. Can do that on coinapp.co. And then, you just start earning points which you can exchange for XYO, but also for airports and PlayStations and sweepstakes entries and stuff like that. But 95% of people redeem their points for XYO. And this way, it is easy for like truck drivers and Uber drivers, or people who want to be new to crypto, or whatever, you want to be part of a community, or you like the gamified aspects of what we're doing. And so we find a lot of different communities and make them part of our community.
I also heard that you guys launched the first dual token Layer 1 tailored to specifically the demands of DePIN. I know that's something that you guys wanted to touch on as well. Is this something that you can also elaborate on a little bit?
Yes, yeah. We have a dual token system now where both tokens strengthen each other, and we see it very beautifully how that's working out. So we have the XYO token, which is our original DePIN token, which is external to the XYO Layer 1. That's used for the DePIN rewards and ecosystem and the contributors there. And then it's for staking, governance, security, and so on. And then there is the XL1 token, which is internal to the Layer 1. It's for gas and transactions and dApps and so on. We call it the yin and the yang. It's like one external, one internal. And to earn XL1 tokens, you need to stake your XYO into the XYO Layer 1. We have a nodeless staking, which is pretty easy, and then we have noded staking, where you have producer and validator nodes. And so a lot of the XYO gets locked up. I think we launched less than a month ago, and it's already more than 3% of XYO total supplies is locked up. And for XL1, XL1 gets burned as you have transactions on the Layer 1. As we have, so much DePIN data, there will be a lot of transactions, and from us alone, and then from third parties, it's going to be more. And so basically both tokens strengthen each other.
Okay, interesting. And then let's talk about the XYO tokens a little bit further as well. Like, how are some ways users can earn those, collect those? I know that they can run a mobile node and also earn XYO tokens. What are all the different ways that they can kind of get their hands on it and participate in the ecosystem?
Yeah, the easiest way, if you want a lot, obviously, is you can buy it on an exchange. It's listed on Coinbase and Kraken and Gate and many other exchanges, and a lot of decentralized exchanges as well. And then to earn it, the easiest way is to download the Coin app, I think, for most people. And then there are many ways to earn in there. Our average users use the app more than 3 hours a day in the foreground. That's more usage than all social media apps getting combined usage. Well, we have a 4.5 star rating in both stores. So obviously our community loves the app, and so it's a good way to earn. And the amazing thing about this is that you earn an asset, right, which might appreciate in value, or it could also depreciate. You never know with an asset, but you have suddenly an asset which earns for you. And so you have these stories. Like, for example, I was at a conference in Australia and was speaking there, and then someone was sitting in the first row and approached me after I came down the stage and was giving me a hug and thanked me because it was an elderly gentleman. He was able to retire as a truck driver, because he earned so much money with a Coin app and XYO that he was able to retire and even invest $400,000 into his friend's business. And I was like, wow, amazing. Those are the stories. And then we collected other stories, other case studies. There's someone who went on a 28 delayed honeymoon, someone paid off their mortgage, and it's these stories. And I absolutely love that. And if it's people in Australia and the US, think about what impact it can have in like India, or in Ghana, or in places which are a little lower income than US and Australia. And I really love the transformation we can have there for people. However, as you earn the tokens, you don't earn like thousands of dollars every day. It's not like that. It's like you earn an asset which might appreciate in value, but it's for most people in the world, right? They live paycheck to paycheck, right, and then have to make ends meet in a way, and are not able to have assets which earn for them. And crypto, I think, allows a lot of people this freedom, suddenly to have an asset.
What do you think the future of DePIN kind of looks like? 'Cause it's an interesting way to get people to participate in building out, physical infrastructure for different types of networks that we want to have in the world. And I've seen all kinds of different amazing use cases for this kind of stuff. But where do you think this kind of goes? It kind of bump heads a little bit with like centralized infrastructure that we have today, whether it's, banking and fintech or telecom or, whatever it's kind of competing with. But like curious, like how much you can see this expanding or maybe integrating with some legacy companies and systems in the future, or if it'll always be kind of like a niche of its own, or what do you envision for it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely huge. And I don't say that, obviously I'm from DePIN, I love DePIN, but the World Economic Forum just released a report in, I think it was June, where they said DePIN is going to be a $3.5 trillion market, a trillion, by 2028. That's in 2 years and a bit, and that's it's like you have to think about what that means. It's where is DePIN? Where is that in 2028? And I think a lot of that obviously is in anything related to AI. Like if you think about compute and anything that handles data. Like we are part of handling data. I think for AI and if you look at Ethereum, for example, I think they made $140 million in revenue or $140 million ARR. Their DePIN project. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And then I think if you think electricity and other needs in underserved markets, sometimes in certain markets you don't have the energy infrastructure, maybe, or you don't have the telco infrastructure and so on. In those markets, DePIN can very well serve underserved markets. And the problem is usually you have very large incumbents, right, which ignore the less served communities in the world. And I think DePIN can fill the void there very easily and still earn very high returns, for the people who are investing in part of that DePIN.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to hear like a few $1 trillion in just a couple of years. That means moving a lot faster than I'm even paying attention to. But that's a good thing. It's amazing to see. I would say young tech like this moving at such a rapid pace, and I think that creates better infrastructure for the world too, and opens up possibility to incorporate more people in these ecosystems. And I think it allows for a much better functioning of how we use things like data in particular. So I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, likewise.
And then do you guys have any like educational information or resources on your guys' website in relation to XYO, in relation to DePIN, things for people to consume that maybe aren't as familiar with the topic, but that are curious?
Yeah, definitely. We start on XYO.network, which is our website. And on there, we have a blog with a lot of educational type of stuff. And then I suggest you follow our Twitter as well. We have lots of educational pieces there under official XYO. And then if you are still curious or you find a way how we can partner together or something, maybe send an email to partnerships@xyo.network. We also have an ecosystem fund there, and we love to support new projects which are touching on XYO, like if your project needs proof of location or is Oracle connecting real world data with blockchain, or is it DePIN or something, just reach out, we love us all to grow together, even if you're a direct competitor, we call it co-opetition, you're not really competitors, right? We cooperate and then compete a little bit, but they are the big ones. Like the whole economy is over $100 trillion. Like we are only going to be only 3.5 trillion in 2028, and so like we have to do it together.
Co-opetition. I like that word. Haven't heard that one before. If someone wanted to work with you guys and become a partner, are there any verticals in particular that you guys are looking for that you'd be interested in working with? Or are you guys pretty wide open to people reaching out?
We're pretty wide open. Like obviously AI and data are like close to our heart and other DePINs, but we are pretty open.
Okay, interesting.
If in doubt, just write us, and we'll check it out.
Yeah, I guess one more question in regards to AI. I think it'd be very interesting to know if you see there's any avenues for maybe AI to help in this regard as well, whether it's in DePIN directly or maybe it's just in helping to verify data, protect data, or allow better ownership of data for an enterprise, for a company, for a user. Because we see data exploited on the other end through AI and AI pulling data from all kinds of places and it being a problem. But I imagine AI could be a really good solution as well if it's applied properly. Do you see avenues there where maybe AI could be very helpful? It could be within DePIN, it could be outside of DePIN. I'm just curious from like a data perspective.
Yeah, I think it can be both. I think, for example, what I mentioned before with the underserved communities, there's underserved communities in terms of data as well, they're underrepresented. And so weather forecasts in certain parts of the world are really difficult because you don't have the weather stations there, right? With DePIN, you can put the weather stations there, or even with XYO, you can, take a picture of the ground and take a picture of the clouds, and maybe record the temperature if you have it, or if you don't, then not feed that into an AI model, right, and provide a localized farming advice, for example, and increase yields for community, which don't have that type of data, and so it's a AI enhanced, or AI might lack certain data, right, and then so it would then go to the DePIN network and say, okay, I need data about something, right? That data gets collected and then gets fed through the XYO Layer One, where you have can provide proof of origin, so you can prove that the data is correct, right? And then the AI can reference it. And the other way around, if the AI gets feedback that it's hallucinating, then it can say, okay, like let me look at some data, or let's have someone verify that data for me, and it all interacts with the XYO Layer One and the DePIN network.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that kind of fleshes out in the future and how AI kind of gets integrated. What's on your guys' roadmap here the rest of 2025? I know we just got a couple of months left. I'm not sure how much you guys are trying to release or do this year in terms of updates or announcements, but is there anything that users should be aware of that might be coming up the next couple of months? And then also anything going into the new year that maybe you guys are eyeballing?
Yeah, we are very much focused on new features for the XYO Layer One, as they roll out over the next few months, and then going to onboard our DePIN ecosystem, and then next is going to be our third-party partners, and we have a whole pipeline of them which want to work on the XYO Layer One, and so we're going to be busy for the next year or so, and with a lot of flexibility, to bring new things in, and with that, there's going to be lots of announcement and lots of excitement around XYO.
Any events, conferences that maybe you guys are attending as well before the year wraps up? I know there's been a lot in this space. It's hard to try and catch them all, but just if you guys are attending any in particular, maybe some that people can meet up with you guys, maybe chat in person.
Yeah, I was just at Token 2049 in Singapore. That's the crazy one, it's the biggest one. And for some reason, they do it during Formula One. So it's very busy in Singapore. But the next one I'm super excited about is India Blockchain Week in Bangalore. And that is at the beginning of December. I think the Indian ecosystem is growing a lot. And yeah, I'm very excited to be there and connect with the Indian community.
Where would you direct people that want to just kind of learn more about XYO in particular? Is the website the best place to go? Do you guys have socials, community, blogs, anything like that too?
Yeah, we have all the things. I think the easiest way is go to XYO network, and then on the bottom left of the page, you find it's a social you like, be it like Instagram, Discord, or Telegram, or whatever, like then you find the link to it. And I think it's the best way is to start out on XYO.network and then find your way into our community.
Okay, excellent. Well, Markus, I appreciate this. This has been a really good episode. Loved learning about what you guys are doing with XYO and DePIN, and in terms of data in particular, which I think is a huge problem that we need to work on solving today together. And I think you guys have a really great solution for. So keep up all the great work and keep me updated on new updates with XYO as you go. Would love to have you back on here in the near future.
Thank you, Brandon. This was fun.